So, it's come to this. This is it. This is the end. The end of the Samsung Developers Conference, at least for us.
Yep.
I think we're almost done. Phil Nickinson, Andrew Martinick, Android Central Live. We've done approximately 372 hours of live streaming video from this event. No, it's not been nearly that long.
Give or take about 370 hours, yeah.
So we're wrapping up here, day 2 in San Francisco, and I've got to say, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think I was pretty good.
I think you were pretty good too, but I was better.
Okay, you're taller.
Brighter shirt.
We've established all of these things.
Yes.
I think as a dev conference, it was pretty good. Now, I mean, I'm not a developer. I don't have the most experience in dev cons, but I know Google I/O pretty well, and that's like top of the mountain as far as just insanity goes.
Right.
This was probably at least halfway up. I think for an inaugural DevCon, Samsung did remarkably well here.
Yeah, when you have over 1,000 people show up.
1,300.
Right, from 30-something countries.
33.
You have all kinds of... all kinds of discussion just starts kicking off. You have not just the sessions going on, but people just getting together between sessions, talking about things. And of course, when they come on camera here, they can give us the whole talk about apps and services, people from Samsung, not affiliated with Samsung, all kinds of stuff going on.
And that was kind of the cool thing. I mean, we talked about it, I think it was we started yesterday, and I know Philip Byrne and I talked about it a little bit. I mean, it's a Samsung Developers Conference, but it's not like you're being browbeaten with Samsung, propaganda or anything. A lot of it is Samsung services, and that's absolutely important. And even if Samsung's not your favorite brand of phone, and it doesn't have to be, right? There's no denying that it's an important, it's an important brand in the space. I mean, they're selling 1 million phones a day.
Right, and a TV every 2 seconds, and all tablets and all kinds of other devices, laptops and everything. So they're really talking about developing for Samsung services and devices, but integrating them with everything else.
We talked a little bit about it yesterday as well, and just seeing this ray of light, this smidgen of hope that we're going to see things open up beyond Samsung more than they have. And I get that. I get that you have to have it closed in your ecosystem at first, and then once you start getting more and more developers in and more consumers in, then you can start branching out a little bit. Take care of your own house first, then start spreading the love to everybody else. And that makes a little more sense now.
Yeah, and if you start narrow, it means you can lock things down, not to outside people, but in terms of what can, make it work the first time around, so you're not casting your net too wide, and then, the fish get through to complete the analogy there.
I want to bring Michael Len back on because we had Michael here as we started yesterday. So Michael, get back over here. Let's chat for a minute. So remind the world again of your official capacity with Samsung and what it is you do here.
I don't even remember anymore. So I run a developer marketing group based in the Silicon Valley at a subsidiary of Samsung called MSCA. We have a lot of different groups, so we have to identify via acronyms. So ours is MSCA.
So your place within this dev conference was, I mean, you were leading a lot of it, right?
Well, I've been working on this for a little over a year, and we're about to close it out, so I'm on cloud 9. I'm ready for a beer and ready to go to sleep.
You can't have that one. That one's mine.
Okay, I see that you already drank out of it.
As long as you're here, let's put you on the spot a little bit. Andrew, what we've sung the praises of Samsung in this developer conference. Right. What's like the one thing you were surprised not to see, or maybe you would hope to see next year?
Well, it's really tough. From our point of view, we like to look at some of the consumer stuff, but this is a developers conference, so it's kind of hard to expect lots of consumer-facing things. Right. But what could happen in the future is that, all of the partners that are here, when you come around to the second time around, which after they've had a year with the SDKs and the APIs, maybe by that time we'll see more consumer-facing stuff here. And then when we go to the expos and things like that, you'll see, kind of the fruits of their labor a year on.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because a lot of large developer conferences these days kind of bleed into consumer marketing in some ways, right? So people expect hardware announcements at a strictly software conference, and people expect all sorts of different things. They kind of bleed into each other. So for the first time, we wanted to do a pure developers conference, really get it started right with the content. The biggest compliment people can give us is that the content was really good here. And like you said, it's more than just about Samsung. It's about the ecosystem. It's exciting. It's relevant to developers. I think we succeeded in that. Year 2, years down the road, we'll see what happens. Obviously, bigger, faster, stronger is always the goal, but just to have this happen, it was, I think, was really rewarding. Yeah. Or it will have been rewarding when I look back on it maybe tomorrow.
Right, yeah.
After you get some sleep?
Yeah, right.
What do you think? 2,500 people next year? 3,000? 4,000?
Yeah.
Not
as much about the amount of people, but it's really about what
quality,
what people say, right? What people say about the conference, how people really, what people learn at the conference, obviously. But yeah, people always expect more.
People have been saying great things. We've been hearing, everybody that comes up here is, singing the praises about, what they've been able to get access to, and go into some of the panel discussions today. There's a lot of panels here, 4 or 5 people, and they all seem really excited about, not just their particular interests, but how things are working together, and that's really been a theme. Yeah,
and it's early stages, right? Going back to your earlier point, though, I wanted to say one thing. I think when I first pitched this conference to Samsung, I really, and this ended up happening, wanted to avoid making it all about the product, right? Making it all about like the black box, showing too much product. So with everything from our branding to our design, it's like there's a black box that's a part of the theme, and that's really to represent that this is something actually a little bit different than what you've gotten with Samsung in the past, where it's really, hardware is you can't have a Samsung event without hardware being the focus, and we just did that. So I'm really happy about that, and everything from the theme, we're not highlighting specific devices or anything. It's all about ideas and developers, and I hope we can take that and run with that in subsequent years.
I did hear a couple of people say they were disappointed you didn't give out the curved OLED screens.
Yeah, the Galaxy Round.
Yeah.
Oh no, you mean the TV?
The TVs. Yes.
TV. Yeah. Well, if they were going to give one out, it was going to be to me, and they didn't. So, no, that thing looks awesome, though.
Yeah, it does.
I don't know why. I don't know if I want mine curved, but apparently, I did notice from the left I could still see.
Exactly.
From the right, I could
You'd still like to put it in your living room and find out.
Yes, exactly. I would love to have that luxury.
Well, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for having us, by the way.
Oh, thanks for coming.
We took up a lot of space here.
You added so much. Thanks for everything you brought to the table.
Appreciate Get out of here.
All right.
Swap it back around here.
Yeah, what should we do? Let's bring on, 1 or 2 people who helped us do this. So Kevin Michaluk, we all know Kevin. In fact, here's what we're going to do. Come here, Kevin. So Kevin is also known as Crackberry Kevin, or at least he was, and we've been attempting to find you a new name.
Well, it's a little premature for that, but we'll see what happens in 2014.
So you're not Samsung Kevin now?
No, I'm not Samsung
or
Kevin
you are this
yet.
No,
I'm highest bidder. Open for, we'll see.
So you've been behind the scenes. You helped set up a lot of this for us, which actually took a load off my plate.
Yeah,
absolutely.
What have you gotten out of this week? I mean, because this is a whole new world for you in a number of levels. It's there's no BlackBerry going on. There's no it's Android, and you're relearning that a little bit. It's this whole new company and a big one at that.
So it's kind of going back to the roots. I mean, if I go back 5 years, 6 years, right, I went to the very first BlackBerry developer conference, and this has been a proper dev con. I think Michael just talked about it. We didn't want to make it about consumer product launches and that kind of thing. I know you guys love those.
That's what we're used to.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love that this is about developers. I mean, Samsung Developers Conference, that's what it should be, and they really did a good job here this year.
And it's not like Samsung doesn't know how to do a product launch.
No, yeah, I mean, when there's products to launch,
out.
there's products to launch,
Yeah.
and when you operate at a global scale like Samsung does and has been doing in mobile these last few years, I mean, one event's not enough anyways, right? I mean, the Note 3 had how many launch events for it, and the Galaxy Gear.
few, yeah.
I mean, they blew it out of the water when they're ready to sell something. So
And this side is so much more important after the product launches too. This is really talking about what can you do with the devices after they're announced. You can only show so much in the the 1 hour presentation where you roll out the device. It's all about what are developers going to do when they have their own launch events for products that they've tailored to the devices.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think this was, it's Samsung's, I don't know what the term is. It's kind of like the coming out party from, stepping out of the shadow, whatever it is, or taking just ownership of their people. But we know how well they've been doing in the Android space in terms of owning the market share of handsets being sold. And it was interesting to go to the keynote yesterday morning, on the Monday morning, and I listened distinctly for the number of times I'd hear the word Android get mentioned. And I think it was only once, and it was actually when talking about Knox, the security platform. And they said, by the way, getting your app certified for Knox is easy because they're just built on the Android app framework. And that was it. Other than that, it was really Samsung show, 5 SDKs released, Samsung SDKs building for their ecosystem, and taking ownership of their brand around development, and I think building now a more direct relationship with developers. And for me, I love these types of events because I speak to the developers that are here. So even last night at the party, I talked to a lot of guys, and for me, it's been interesting because I know a lot of people here, so I didn't come here expecting to know anybody.
We met quite a few ex-BlackBerry people this week.
There's a lot of people. I mean, obviously developers, right, are not married to any one platform, right? And most developers these days are, once you're smart and you're a dev, you tend to dabble with everything, and you develop for what you're feeling passionate about or where you see the opportunity. Yeah. And because of that, there's a lot of BlackBerry developers here who are also Android developers, also
so it's
iOS
telling
developers.
that they see opportunities here.
They see opportunities, and one of the things that's been explained to me by some very successful devs is, you often go for, it's not necessarily like, I want to say low-hanging fruit, but put it this way, like iOS, it's kind of like a lottery ticket, right? If you're the developer who hits the next app that sells gets 1 billion downloads or 1 million downloads at $1 a pop, you hit it. But for every story you hear like that, there's many, many more you don't hear, and those are the ones who spend many months, many hundreds of thousands of dollars developing, and it doesn't work out. And I think when you see a company like Samsung now saying, hey, we really want to take, build these relationships with developers, the 1,300 people who are here this week are very smart people because they're getting in at year one, they're meeting the people from Samsung. This is Samsung putting their engineers on the floors.
Right.
And you can build a lot of relationships quick. And I'm talking to devs who are like, working with Samsung on apps, getting them certified, and the way that process works versus at other companies and that. And you can see for developers who take that initiative, it's going to work out well for them if they do that.
There's going to be a lot of people, I think, who look at this and all the stories coming out, not just ours, and saying, I should have been there. There's going to be a lot of press who I think will say, I should have been there.
Well, and it's interesting because I think Samsung is, it's year one, right? So even earlier today, there's a session on like the Samsung developer program, right? And I guarantee whatever the rules are today, they will change over the next year and the next year, but you have to start somewhere. And the people who get in early are there early, right? And press and everything else.
And manufacturers are going to say,
sure.
God, they're doing their own DevCon now. We have to step up our game, and that's just. And speaking of
attendees, that's another thing too. There's a lot of people I ran into who are just here from other big companies who, are not, and I don't mean, a high percentage, but I was surprised, right? And it's the, we want to see what Samsung's up to approach, right? It's like, Samsung's holding a DevCon. We need to send somebody here to check it out.
And by all accounts, they're seeing something that they're going to go back and say, maybe we need to consider doing something. Maybe it won't be on this scale, but, it might not be 1,500 people, but, like you said, the rising tide there, everybody's going to get in on this, and then, then there's competition for developers' time, and that's where you get the best stuff.
No, and I think, Samsung too, it's like, this is a company that spends a lot of money on advertising when they want to. And I think they did this conference in a really sort of true way to the spirit of devs. They didn't just, I'm not going to say it was run on a low budget, but it wasn't like, if Samsung wants to drop $1 billion on blowing it up with everything, they could do that. They ran it as a proper DevCon, right? And the Hackers Lounge here is awesome. I'd almost want to turn around a camera and point it to the bowl of candies we've been devouring the last couple days.
And the way to draw in developers, isn't flashy commercials and a crazy venue. It's
give them tools they love.
Give them, say, 5 SDKs launching, and say how many APIs you have available, and roundtable discussions where you're talking to industry leaders and you're talking to the heads of departments at Samsung here, and that's just not access that you normally have. Yeah,
no, it's give them tools, give them access, give them dialogue, give them smart people to talk to. I mean, I think all companies in the space strive to do this sort of thing. Again, coming back to the BlackBerry side, right? I saw over the years how they started with a DevCon 1, their year one, and how that evolved over the years. And, a company like that, they try as hard as they can to be successful and do the same thing. And I think for Samsung, if you think about it, this is their first one, right?
Yeah.
They're number one in Android, and this is their first one. So it's almost, it's about time this happened, right? And you heard Michael here say he had to, he pitched the idea to have this thing. And that's a huge testament to him to push that through. It's something that, they needed to have that wasn't there being done. And I think it would be easy to say, well, there's Google I/O, right? But
it's a different monster.
It's a different monster, and I think now you're seeing like Android is such a big beast, right? As being I guess, open source, right? Mainly, I don't know what the term is to use, but it's
Yeah,
open source,
no,
like being a platform that people can tap into.
And I've read even more stories this week about how Samsung's taking Android and maybe not doing stuff that Google wants them to with it, in Google's best interest. But that's what Android was built for. It was built to take the code and do cool stuff with it.
And that's what's happening here is people are doing really cool things with not just Android as a software platform, but then Samsung's adding the hardware platform element. You need something to run that software on, and then expand from there.
You can appreciate the enterprise stuff better than I can, I think, and that's one of the more important spaces. Everyone used to complain that Android was not secure, and now they're making it secure. And we're all still whining about it.
Exactly.
Well, no, we had this discussion yesterday, right? Where, when you hear the word Android only mentioned once on stage, it's like, Tizen, maybe they're going to throw in a bid for BlackBerry 10.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen, but when you do look at products they're building, like something like Knox, right, and basically securing up Android for enterprise at a manufacturer level. It shows a commitment to that platform, at least for the foreseeable future.
And then when they do mention Android, they mention the web, they mention iOS. They're mentioning all these different platforms. They're saying, you have a computer running Windows, or you have an Android phone, an iOS phone. They don't care. They want it to be open to as many users as possible.
Yeah, and I think that's been, it's one of the things I like about Samsung a lot is choice. It's one of the things I've always liked about BlackBerry over the years too. Is opposed to Apple, which has been sort of the Henry Ford of, the Ford of smartphones, right? I mean, before it was you can have any color you want as long as it's black or white. Now throw gold in the mix, maybe gray. It's not a lot of choice there for consumers at the product level. And I think, Samsung's always done choice. They're the opposite, right? They are the yin to the yang, or whatever you want to say. And you look at their hardware portfolio. Lots of choice, right? Whatever size you want, if they can build it, they're going to sell it to you if you want it. And I think on the development side here, they're sort of showing too that we're going to give developers lots of choice to work with us. And I think if you look at their future, I don't know, I was in Korea recently, and we talked to some of the guys there. We visited Samsung HQ, and it was interesting to even hear them, right? Because obviously they've built for Windows Phone. Right. They have, on the PC side of things, or notebook side of things, excellent relationships with Microsoft. Ooh. And I don't think they're a type of company that just says, this is the way we're doing it, that's it. It's where there's demand and people want a solution and don't want to be forced into something. You'll probably see Samsung there, very quickly offering a product. And with the amount of people they're throwing at it, or putting on it, like 10,000 software engineers now working on mobile, I think. I mean, it's crazy numbers, right? So you can see how fast they can turn things around.
Well, I think that's going to do it for us. I think we are done. We are actually officially off the
clock.
clock.
You want to talk about Google Hangouts, which you've been making me use?
No.
We'll just save that for an Android Central podcast.
We'll have to have you on Android Central.
No, it's
the trials and tribulations.
Done, yeah.
It's 4:01, man. We're over. We're going to go have a drink with some developers and say hi.
Can I show off my... I don't even have my phone on me.
Your phone on you.
Darn, I had it all loaded up. It's beautiful. I was like, Phil, look what I'm using.
How awesome, by the way, is this?
Exactly.
Yeah, this is a
it's
great
not just
setup.
A sticker on a laptop. It's banners.
We should pull on
everything.
John P. Do you want to come wave or do a walkthrough here?
John, come here and say hi, John.
So while we're queuing this up, I'm gonna tell the backstory, right? Which is obviously earlier this year we did a Crackberry Live show for BlackBerry Live. And when the opportunity came up to do this, Phil was he took to it very well, which was actually awesome. He's like, we're doing the Android Central Live at Samsung DevCon, and you guys did a great job. I'm
the first
so
words
proud.
out of my mouth were in no way, no. Well, and John and Callie worked with us for Talk Mobile. So.
Mm-hmm. No, it's worked out well. So thank you again, John, for coming out here. And
the real magic.
I think Marcus wants to come say hi.
The magic's over here.
No?
The kid over there. We got to get the camera.
Yeah, we should do the little...
Here, let's see.
Yeah, you got to see what makes this all tick in the background here. Because this isn't just a one camera kind of situation.
This is not us sitting in our bedrooms podcasting like normal.
Phil, I totally took your beer over.
You did,
We went handheld. Ken, you showing them what's going on here?
There's the powerful setup.
That's the brains behind the entire operation. That's Ken. You guys know Ken.
Hello.
He's sitting here working the.
And
let's
thousands
see if
of
we'll come
feet
around
of
here a little
cords
bit. we'll show off some of the madness. So he's got a TriCaster going on here, and over there he's switching using a Blackmagic ATEM unit.
Oh, cool.
He's got a couple of monitors there. He's recording up here. This is the TriCaster switching stuff. So he's a busy man, paying attention to a lot of stuff. We got a bunch of cameras mounted up here. Those are the lights you guys have been staring into all day.
Yeah,
How
very
you like
bright.
that?
They're super
Yes.
bright.
Makes us look good, but
All right,
it's intense.
I think we're done.
You guys are done? I'm just warming up now.
I know you are. I'm done. I'm gonna have a drink.
Can I tell a story of my first Samsung product and what I did to it?
Yes.
Do it.
So
Make it happen.
I actually owned Samsung products long before BlackBerry, long before Apple, like maybe Tandy computers and then Samsung. And it was probably my 14th birthday, or no, sorry, Christmas, and I was like 14 years old. My first CD player was a Samsung, and it was that one that kind of looked like a wing. Like you could find them, right? It kind of goes like this, and it comes up in the middle, top loading, 2 cassette player, 2 cassettes at the
Stylish.
front. Very nice. Got it. I was so happy. First 2 CDs were like Skid Row and Motley Crue, Decade of Decadence, and Skid Row, Slave to the Grind.
Yes.
Used it for a year. Then I'm out in my garage the next summer, and I took it out because we were like, I don't know, I was helping my dad with something. I wanted music, and I plugged it into a 220 outlet instead of a 110. No. Never did that again, but it's kind of funny. But I still have it. It actually still sort of works. It kind of recovered over time, and one deck works, but the other one doesn't, and the CD doesn't. But that's it. That's my story of my first Samsung
And a
product.
great story it was,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kevin.
I probably had Samsung before anybody else watching.
All right, so that's it from the Samsung Developers Conference, the inaugural Samsung Developers Conference in San Francisco. Andrew, Kevin, John, Marcus, everybody out there, thank you. And we'll see you next time, I guess.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Cheers.
Later, all.